Now, Scott, you watched tonight's debate really closely. What was your general feeling about the two candidates in terms of their preparedness, their composure, and how well you think they connected with the viewer?
We saw opposites, polar opposites. They were both prepared, but one is not as good at being a debater as the other, not as relaxed.
Okay, hold on. Which one do you think who do you think he's talking about? He says one of them is not as a relaxed debater as the other. So you think one is more skilled at debating?
Oh, very much so.
And how many of you think that's J.D. Vance? How many of you think, no, he's talking about Walz? Just you? All right, see, what am I going to do with you? All right, so who was the more experienced and relaxed debater?
J.D. Vance. Very smooth movements. His illustrators, when we illustrate, that's how your brain emphasizes specific words and phrases, like I did just then, specific words and phrases. And when he makes his illustrators, they're right on the money, right on time. And when they go away slowly. They're very smooth. Whereas you look at Walz, his are very fast and very, very quick, and his arms stay close to his torso.
What's that mean to you?
That, to me, when I'm looking at a behavior that is trying to decide if they're open or confident, and you see this, that's not good.
Okay, because they're tucking in for protection,
yes,
right?
Yes, they're tucking in for protection.
They're in here. And Vance has given a lot more interviews than Walz and Harris combined, so maybe he's gotten a little more comfortable under fire.
Sure looks it. Sure looks it.
Do you think it helped him get his message across?
Very much so, especially in a couple of spots we'll talk about.
Okay, you want to show us what they are?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. You want to go over to the screen here?
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right, show us what you got.
All righty.
Okay.
Let's see what this first...
Now, this is Vance, where you say he does come across as confident here.
Yes.
Does that mean he's more believing what he's saying?
Oh, yes. This is someone who is a true believer, who believes in what he's saying, being completely honest with what he's saying, nothing to hide at all.
Right.
So.
And what are we looking for?
So what we're going to look for, we'll look for the head tilt as this section right in here of his head. We'll look at that, and we'll say, okay, well, what's happening? As he's talking, it looks like he's listening. When we listen, our head tilts a little bit, and that right ear comes forward a little bit. When he's looking at Walz, what we're seeing here, this begins panic almost, because he doesn't know what to say. See how he backs up there? And he's thinking? This is called the grief muscle. Right in that area there, that's a horseshoe style. When your forehead comes together in an upside down horseshoe, that's the grief muscle. He's not sure. Right there it is, right there. Perfect. So
when you say grief muscle, what are you saying that he's saying to himself right now?
He's worried. He's a little panicked, and he doesn't know what's going to happen next. He's got the idea of what he wants to say, but he doesn't know exactly what he's going to say. Okay. He has the concept.
All right.
He's doesn't have it down yet.
Okay.
So, and his blink rate, because you're always fascinated with blink rate. Let's check out Vance's blink rate compared to Walz's blink rate.
All right, is this in clip 2?
Oh, sure.
Right, blink rate, is this where you're looking now?
Yes. This is up for him, because as he's thinking, your eyes will blink. But as your stress goes up, people blink anywhere from 15, 20 times a minute. And here we're seeing that's about right for here. But that's about right for his blink rate. And over here, he's not even talking, and we'll see his blink rate skyrocket in just a couple of seconds there. So keep an eye on that. But at the same time, here are the illustrators I've been telling you about. He doesn't do anything unique, and these are all classics that a lot of people do. So he hasn't been out rehearsing which ones to use. He uses the classics, this one, the karate chop, and then the framing stuff. So everything there is fine, and everything lands on the money. When the words he's emphasizing, those hit on those words, and that's really important.
Okay, now we want to see the blink rate here. Can we roll this back just a little bit, or is it still to come on this?
Okay.
All right, here we go. All right, so when you see a high blink rate, it means somebody's under a lot of stress.
Right, a lot of stress. Unless you see them, unless they're fearful, where we see some of that as well. His eyes are wide, and notice how slow his eyes blink right there, because we call that shutter speed. You're hearing something or seeing something that you don't agree with or don't want to hear or see. We call it eye blocking as well. But that's what we're seeing when his eyes blink really, really slowly. So this is fear here. It must be in the clip I'm talking about where his speed up.
Yeah, well, no, I see the fear that you're talking about here.
Yeah, grief muscle, the whole.
Yeah, you know, people think when they're lying, they won't look at you in the eye. Sometimes they just stare at you like a dead trout. So they're afraid to look away. Let's talk about the next one.
All righty.
All right, this is the third one. And this is a clip where Governor Walz and Scott says he's being deceptive.
Yes, at the end, we're going to see as he says this phrase, he says, people are getting what they need. That's the last thing he says. And when he does that, you'll see this left shoulder go up right there. You'll see his left shoulder go up, and you'll see that chin point toward his shoulder. So that's what's going to happen when he does that. There it is, right there. Now, there are no scientific studies that show that means you're being deceptive. There are none. Because when I train law enforcement in the military, I have to tell them from the studies of what I know, so I don't give them some information that might get them killed because I feel like it's something that's important. There are no studies that show that. However, every time I've ever seen it, and a couple of FBI agents that I know have seen that, that's how we started talking about it, that has always been a deceptive cue. They've always been being deceptive when you see that shoulder come up and the chin go toward the shoulder. So what this tells me here is he doesn't believe what he's saying there. He knows that's not true, or he knows it himself doesn't believe it to be true. So that's what we're seeing there. That's why that's really
That's what
important.
you see when you go.
Yeah, you get that thing. I don't know. I don't know where we're going.
All right, you're scary.
So.
All right, now things got a little heated, and here's an example of Senator Vance taking control of the situation. Show us this clip.
This is a masterful taking over the conversation. When the moderators try to stop him.
Thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn now to the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
Pay attention to that. All right.
Tell us about that.
What he did here was masterful because he took over. As they're trying to shut him down, he sticks this up, which is called a regulator. Regulators are what you use when you're trying to control a situation. Slow something down, speed something up, you stay there, you come over this way, you all do this. Those are regulators because I'm trying to control what's going on. A lot of times when someone starts to, when you're trying to shut somebody down, you'll step up and go, wait, wait. That makes the person, that ramps him up. He does his very slowly. He comes up like this and just sticks his hand up and starts speaking softly and then gets louder as he goes. Not a lot louder, but loud enough where they can hear him and they know there's no way out of it. And he keeps speaking. And so he took control of the conversation at that point and they were listening to him.
Okay, now the next one is China. Hong Kong, when he's talking about was he in Tiananmen Square or not.
Right.
And they said, were you there or were you not?
Right.
And what do you want to look for in that?
Oh, I'm going to look for the things that tell us we know he wasn't there. And this, I'll put all my money on this. We're going to see fear, we're going to see panic, we're going to see shame. And the grief muscle as well. So we'll throw, everything's in this one. Sorry.
All right, let's take a look and we'll listen.
You said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400. Town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the...
Yeah, as that head goes sideways, that's panic, because he's not sure how he's going to defend this. He knows the question's coming, so he's got something ready, but it's not coming out the way he thought about it. So he's got inner dialogue going on. He's thinking about it. That's why I see that head turn, those eyes get really, really wide. I know what that looks like. That's what's happening there.
Yeah, and you see the grief muscle again here.
Yes. Oh, yeah, the upside down horseshoe right there. And the rest of this is panic. We see his eyes doing this. That's panic. And this, yeah, I know. And these up here, usually we look at that and we say, well, that's disgust or whatever. But this is a panic mode. See how his head's coming forward and his chin is up like that? He's trying to get that out as fast as he can. And this is one of the only illustrations we see from him as he's talking. And this is the one that's come out further from his body than anything else because he's trying to make sure I want you to believe me. You got to believe me. That's what we're seeing, the panic here in that. Wide eyes, grief muscle, and everything's far out.
Let's finish the clip here.
Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher.
You said
Okay. I spent a lot of time, as I said, in the litigation arena preparing witnesses. And we always prepared witnesses to tell the truth effectively. We never prepared them to lie or spin, just tell the truth effectively. And don't you agree that if someone asks you a question and you want to be persuasive, you should answer the question first and then explain it? Like, were you there last night? Yes. Let me tell you why. As opposed to, were you there last night? Well, wait a minute. Were you there or were you not? Don't you want to hear the answer up front? And the question was, you said you were in Tiananmen Square during that showdown, and were you or weren't you? Well, I was born in Nebraska in a town of 400, grew up on a farm eating corn or whatever.
As you know, we call that chaff and redirect. He gives out a lot more information, hoping that your brain will follow that information and not ask any more questions and forget what you're talking about. That's why when you're asking a question, they go, well, listen, here's what really happened. When I get up in the morning, I eat toast every day. And they start talking about something that has nothing to do with what the answer is.
My point is, would it have been better off if he had said, no, I wasn't, and I said I was, let me explain. I took student groups over there probably 30 or 40 times 35 years ago. And I remember this being a really big deal, and I just got it confused timing-wise. Bad mistake on my part, I apologize. Next question. Would that have been a better response? But then we wouldn't have known where he was born.
That's true. That's true.